Eat like you care. Beyond dogs and cats. And our conventional wisdom does not apply just to dogs and cats. It applies to animals we use for entertainment as well as for food. Think about bullfighting. Although there are people who enjoy this sport and support its continuation, most people think that it is repulsive and that it should be banned. When in 2010, a bull impaled Spanish bullfighter Julio Aparicio, not sure if I said that right, through his throat and out his mouth, many people, not just animal rights advocates, expressed the view that Aparicio got what he deserved. Why? Bullfights are very violent events. A bull is tormented by inserting spears into its back muscles, and he is eventually killed when a sword is thrust into his heart. And the only justification for this gruesome event is pleasure, in the form of entertainment. Yes, some defenders claim that bullfighting is a form of art on par with painting, sculpture, dance, and music. Really? Are you kidding me? But that is just another way of saying that it is a form of entertainment. There is no necessity, no need for this activity. There's no conflict between humans and animals that necessitates the suffering of the bulls. We object to bullfighting because it violates conventional wisdom. It involves imposing unnecessary suffering on an animal. But again, there is no difference between bullfighting and using bulls and other animals for food. Neither use is necessary. Both uses serve only to satisfy the pleasure of humans. Indeed, the bulls and cows who end up in slaughterhouses have lives and deaths that are every bit as brutal as the life and death of a bull bred for fighting. I would argue even worse, from what I've seen. In fact, in most cases, the bulls killed in the arena are butchered and the meat is distributed to the poor. The difference between the two situations is that in one situation, the slaughterhouse is not choreographed. In the other, it is. And that is the only difference. Ironically, when we do focus on food animals as individuals, particularly in situations in which they are suffering or in peril, we respond to them just as we would to a dog or a cat. We have all heard of situations in which animals other than quote-unquote pet animals are in peril, and people go to great lengths to assist those animals. For example, not far from where we live, a cow fell into a pond and got stuck in the mud. Police and firefighters spent the following day, which was a holiday, trying to rescue the cow. They succeeded and went to extraordinary lengths, not only to rescue the cow, but also to keep her cool and comfortable during and after the rescue. If these firefighters and police officers had not been involved in rescuing the cow that day, they would have most likely been attending a barbecue where cow corpses were being barbecued. But when confronted with a situation in which they saw the helpless cow, they responded just as they would respond if the helpless animal were a dog. If someone had seen the cow and instead of helping her, had taken advantage of her inability to move and had tortured her in some horrible way, there's no doubt that we would have seen Vic-like rage from the public and a criminal prosecution for violating the anti-cruelty laws. Think about how upset many people in Britain became when they learned that there was horse meat in their processed beef products. They were objecting to the fact that their meat had meat in it. It's stunningly confusing when you think about it. So what can we draw from what we've seen so far? Most of us agree that although animals do not have the same moral value that humans do, they do have moral value, and that we have a moral obligation not to impose unnecessary suffering on them. Most of us agree that the imposition of suffering on animals for reasons of pleasure, amusement, or convenience does not constitute necessity. We look at people like Michael Vick and Mary Bale, or at practices like bullfighting, and we condemn them all because animals were made to suffer for no good reason. The problem is that every time we consume animal products, we are participating in inflicting suffering on animals for no good reason. When it comes to animals, we are all Michael Vick. We are all Mary Bale. We all engage in conduct that is indistinguishable from bullfighting. When it comes to animals, we suffer from moral schizophrenia. Clinical schizophrenia involves delusional thinking. Our moral thinking about animals is literally delusional. We think of animals as having moral value. We think of ourselves as having an obligation not to impose unnecessary suffering on animals. We object to the imposition of suffering on animals when there is no compelling reason. We then proceed to impose horrible suffering on billions of animals without any reason that is more compelling than pleasure, amusement, or convenience. At this point, we have only 3 options. The first option is to decide that although we say that it's morally wrong to inflict suffering on animals without a sufficient justification, we don't really mean it. It's perfectly fine to inflict suffering on animals for any reason, including pleasure, amusement, or convenience. Our getting upset about Vick, Bale, and bullfighting is really nothing more than hypocrisy that we now acknowledge and accept. The second option is that we have convinced you to stop consuming animal products, or at least to resolve to do so. If that is the case, then you can stop reading now and just start searching for quick, easy, inexpensive, and healthful vegan recipes, of which there are many thousands readily available on the internet. And might I add, extremely delicious. The third option is that you are troubled and think that there's something to our argument, but you are saying, quote, but, and then thinking about other reasons that would cause you to retain the belief that animals really do matter, but that it's acceptable for you to continue to consume them. We examine those buts in the following section. To hear the next chapter, please go to my next video on my YouTube page. Please like and subscribe.